FM News Talk 97.1. On demand audio. Allman in the morning. Common Sense Radio.
Good morning, you bunch of drunks.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? Happy Thursday to you. Sandra Smith is going to be joining us in just a few. And Jimmy Talent as well. Kevin Jackson. And we're going to have the Senior Vice President for Political Affairs at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce joining us a little bit later on. That's on behalf of John Bruner. So Chamber of Commerce are big Bruner fans, and we'll have that for you as well. All right, so the Chick Fil A story, a big one yesterday. There were so many people who came out in droves, and in large part, in my opinion, based on what I've heard from the people, and you'll hear it just in a second here, it really wasn't about gays or gay marriage at this point. It got to the point where it was about principle and people standing up for the sovereignty of the individual and the individual corporation. It was about liberty and free speech. And anybody who thinks that all the people coming out were somehow just totally against gay marriage or what have you, or gays, I don't know. I mean, are fooling themselves. But let them be fooled. But this is what happens when you have the left wing of our society trying to pull crap like this off. You have Americans revolting, and Americans revolted yesterday. Some of whom, in my opinion, may not even have strong opinions about the gay issue, period. But they do have strong opinions about liberty, and they'll stand up for it when they have to. Here you go.
Well,
CBS News, by the way, pauses. CBS News was at a parking lot. This guy goes out there with a video camera to try to assist them in getting a parking space so they could film and so they could tape all the great Americans who were coming out in support of freedom. And here's how it went down.
Might actually try to be a good citizen here and let them know. Oops, sorry. You guys are trying to find a spot? There was like 3 or 4 up there in a serious parking lot.
We thought it was a protest, but it's not. It's Appreciation Day, so we're not going to shoot it.
Oh, okay.
We thought it was a protest, but since it's an Appreciation Day, we're not going to shoot it. There's the quintessential media behavior in a nutshell right there. That's how these guys operate. We thought it was a protest, but since it's in support of Chick Fil A, we're not gonna videotape it. Here's some of the people on the parking lots of the area.
I want to support the CEO's right to free speech. I don't think it's right that anybody should take any political action against somebody who's just voicing his opinion, and he's just running a business like anybody else in this country.
You can't govern that. It's a free country. They're allowed to open a business just like you are. They have no right to stop any business from opening because of their religious beliefs.
The sad thing is that, when they press for their agenda, they ask for us to be tolerant of them, but yet when we speak on what we believe, they're not tolerant of us, and I think that's where the battle is.
Yeah, absolutely. So did any of those people really say anything about how I'm standing up for the right to stop gays from doing what they're doing? No. They were standing up for the right of Chick Fil A to conduct itself, as long as it's legal, in a manner that is befitting their expression of freedom of speech and their sovereignty. That's what it was all about. So it was really nice to see that. And that's from the AP. The AP, they collected these interviews. And just when you thought maybe they'd be selectively editing or making people look as worse as they possibly could, these people were obviously great stand-up Americans right there. By the way, when we talk about Bloomberg, Mayor Bloomberg or Rahm Emanuel or something like that, would it be weird if I said Rahm Emanuel's kind of got that Jewy kind of, approach to things? Kind of comes across as like a Jew when he's conducting himself. You think I'd get away with that? No. Well, I mean, obviously I don't think that way. What I'm saying is, though, if I just referred to Rahm Emanuel as, that Jew mayor of New York, of Chicago, he wants to do, it would never fly. But apparently it's okay for Newsweek to actually even make reference to the ethnicity of a guy like Mitt Romney as they went after him and called him a wimp. This is a guy from Newsweek explaining, well, this really isn't the same of H.W. Bush, and Romney's different, and here's how it all went down.
He's a product of this very old WASPy civic code where you behave sedately, you don't act with a lot of bravura, you don't put yourself out there in front of things too much.
Yeah, so anyway, this guy says that Romney isn't acting by the WASPy code. I can't believe people get away with this kind of stuff. I'd love to know the ethnicity of that guy. And by the way, why is throwing around the that's old. I don't think I've heard people the last decade using the term waspy. Have you? But they get away with it in mainstream media like that? I mean, and again, it's no different than just referring to somebody as a Jew think of something else. Who knows? I mean, it's ridiculous, but this guy gets away with it. And that's Newsweek. I'm so glad I canceled my subscription to them a long time ago. I used to complain about them all the time, and finally I just said, why complain? Just stop getting them having their magazine come into my home. President Obama and the rest of the Democrats angry at Mitt Romney for not feeding their government pig.
It's that old top-down economics that we've been hearing about for years. The old discredited idea that if we somehow get rid of more regulations on big corporations and give more tax breaks to the wealthiest Americans, that somehow that's going to lead to more jobs and prosperity for everybody. Ohio, you know better. I know better. We know this country wasn't built from the top down. It was built by the middle class. It was built by farmers and factory workers and startups and small businesses and companies that send American products overseas, not sending American jobs overseas. That's what built Ohio, and that's what built America.
Yeah, and those are all wealthy people. Well, not all wealthy people, but the people who are sending products overseas and small business people are the very people Obama's going after right now. And he wants Romney to pay more taxes. He wants the wealthy to pay more taxes so they can feed the pig that they've created, known as the federal government. Your comments are welcome. 969-9797, 866-455-9797.